363 days till hockey season. I gotta toughen up.
All right, we're live on Instagram. Me and Mitch.
Oh shit.
At Easy Wins Mitch.
What up? What up?
We're heading to Aspire Athletics. This is what, like, I think this is our 4th time there, and so we've got it going.
Ab day.
Ab day.
Can't stand me. They gon' think I want a Grammy. They gon' think I want a Grammy. They gon' think I want a Grammy. They gon' think I want a Grammy.
Here we are.
One more.
Shit. I'm gonna be sore for 2 weeks straight after this. Today was abs, and we crushed the abs. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hurting tomorrow and the next few days. Like, you know when you get so sore in your abs, you like cough wrong, or you don't want to laugh. Like that's gonna be it.
I think the funny thing is, after doing the 30-day ab challenge, my abs are actually sadly a lot stronger than everything else. So, like,
He messed himself up.
like doing hanging abs and all that stuff, I think my shoulders and my hands got, like, my forearms are dead. And so I think getting in those kind of exercises are going to be good, because I think eventually my forearms and my shoulders will catch up to my abs. Like, I can do a lot of the ab strength stuff. Like, I can plank for a long time now, and I can do a lot of the med ball tosses that you'll see in the video. But man, the hanging abs honestly didn't feel like I got as good of a workout as I could have, just because my hands were the ones that were just dying. So I think my advice for people who want to start doing hanging abs, you know, throw in a couple sets of the actual hanging abs with just your hands, because you got to build those up. But also there's some arm straps that you can get that we'll have next time that will show that you can use to help your forearms out a little bit.
I was gonna ask you what your thoughts are, because I've got mixed thoughts on like using stuff like that, you know, like straps for your wrists and stuff too. I know that's helping, like, safety wise,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, like, if you can't grip a weight, should you be lifting it?
It's a good question. I would say safety wise, and it depends on what your goal is. I think. What are you going for? Like, if I'm trying to do deadlifts to build my legs, and my finger strength is what's limiting my legs, because at some point, if you're lifting really heavy weight and you're getting really strong, then your hands are going to be the limiting factor, because the tendons and the muscles in your forearms are just not strong enough to hold, 500-600 pounds unless you really work it. So
yeah, I was gonna say, should then you say, like, okay, this is as far as I can go until I work those up, or do you think forget about it, just keep going with the legs?
I would say I would do a mix of things. I would throw in some sets at the beginning for sure, where I was trying to build up my wrist and hand strength. But I don't think it necessarily correlates to say my hands can only lift 300 pounds, so therefore my legs should only be able to lift 400 pounds. Because maybe you're built differently, that you don't have very much grip strength, or you don't do stuff throughout the day that builds your grip strength, but you do a lot of stuff throughout the day that builds your legs. Yeah. Or, for example, like someone who's doing sports that require them to be really strong in the legs, but they don't want to do a whole lot of upper body, so they don't do a whole lot of like upper body rows, because like back rows are going to really build your grip, or like farmer carries and stuff like that.
Right.
And so you might be in a sport or a situation where you don't necessarily do a whole lot of upper body lifting, so then your legs would be strong enough to handle it, but your hands just aren't.
So yeah, I guess basically you don't need to like wait to catch up, but I'd say it's still a sign that you should start incorporating things like farmer carries or something, just to get the grip, the forearm.
For example, how I would have done it today, I would have tried to do as many hanging abs as I possibly could until my hands were giving up, and I felt like my hands and my forearms were, and my shoulders for that matter, were what were limiting me from getting an ab workout. Because at this time, I'm trying to get an ab workout, and maybe I did shoulders 4 days ago or 3 days ago, and or like I did something with a lot of heavy gripping, so my arms are just fatigued. So that's when my goal is to get an ab workout, so I can use devices to help me accomplish my goal, rather than letting my hands set me back from accomplishing what my goal was today.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of how I think of it there.
I'm just always like, I guess you're right. It's really dependent on your goal, because like if you want to be the best power lifter and lift a certain weight, your grip's never going to catch up, really. Like you're going to have to find certain ways to get around it.
Yep.
But if your goal is, and because this is my goal, is just to like be functionally strong.
Yep.
And like, I don't want to really like be deadlifting 500 pounds if out in the wild 500 pounds is there and I can't even grab it,
Yeah, exactly. But like in this case, like we came in here with a purpose to do abs and get our core stronger.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, that could be one reason. I've actually never used the actual wrist straps with the rolls. I've never used those before. I have used the hanging ab straps, but just because the other thing about those straps is hanging, if you don't have the range of motion already and you don't have the strength, it can be very harsh on your shoulders. And our shoulders are already pretty sensitive to injury, just because they're so mobile. So if you're like, nah, I'm just gonna battle through it, I don't want those straps, and then you're starting to get a lot of shoulder pain, then that's probably a time where you should say, okay, I'm gonna get the straps, use those a little bit to take some of the load off my shoulder to avoid injury that way. So it could actually go the other way where it prevents an injury. So I mean, I can see it both ways. So yeah, you just got to think about what your intent is, and then base off whatever you're going to do off your intent.
Yeah, it's true. And I think a couple things that we wanted to show with these abs were, number one, what a lot of people miss, and what you'll notice is we didn't do any sit-ups. We weren't doing any crunches.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone gets lost in. They think like, I'm just gonna do 1,000 sit-ups.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the ticket.
Yeah.
That's not gonna help you, number one, because you're not progressively overloading.
Yeah.
Like there's no way to add weight there.
Yeah.
And so like the first thing we did was we had weighted leg lifts. And that's something you can continuously get better at. That's how you're really gonna build the muscles in your core. Another thing I wanna point out, because I hear it way too often, people think they have to start working abs to get rid of their belly.
Yeah.
And that's not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
The belly, the reason your abs aren't showing is because you have too much body fat.
Yeah.
And you gotta get rid of that body fat before any abs are gonna show. So you could have the strongest abs in the world, and some people do. The powerlifters out there who don't have the shredded look.
And they actually want that. They want that belly. They need that extra weight.
Right.
Like powerlifters say if you have a six-pack abs, you're not going to do well in powerlifting. So and the thing that I want to go back to what Mitch was just talking about the working different areas to burn fat, because that is one of the biggest myths. So if you have fat on your legs and you do a lot of leg lifting, it's definitely going to tone the muscles of your legs, and it can make your legs look better that way, but it will not selectively burn fat from your legs. You have to think of fat as a bank. It's a bank account. You can't draw money from different areas. You just draw it from it in its entirety. Your body gets to choose where it wants to draw that energy from. And so with some people, like for me, for an example, the last fat that I have, if I went down to 8% body fat, the last bit of fat that you'd be able to see visibly without being like internal organ and kind of intramuscular would be on my stomach. That's just where I carry that, like the majority of my fat. Some people carry it in their legs. So those spots are going to be some of the last spots that you see go. But again, it's more of a bank of energy, and you can't withdraw from where you want to withdraw from. So as much as we want to believe that if you go and you have some fat on your stomach and you want to do a bunch of abs to make that fat go away, it's not just going to burn fat from your stomach, but it will strengthen those muscles and define those muscles underneath that fat, so that when you get your diet in check, you can get rid of that layer of fat, and those abs that you've been working on will start to show.
Yep, 100%. And that's the thing too, is because people think crunches are gonna do it, But you're gonna lose that body fat, and you're gonna realize like my abs aren't even developed enough to see.
Yeah.
So that's why it's gonna come in 100% for you to work with some weight, so you can actually develop the muscles. Because that's the thing too, is like you might lose that weight, but if you don't have any abs that are really like developed, it's not gonna look the way you want.
Yeah, it's gonna depend also on what type of abs you want. If you want like a really full looking abdominal six pack where you've got some depth to it, then that's when this progressive overload stuff is going to be really, really beneficial for you. It's just like any other muscle, just like your biceps. If you want to train it, you can't just go do a 5-pound dumbbell 1,000 times a day. That, you know, that's an endurance set. So if you're looking for like a really lean, flat, like less developed kind of like lean legs without a lot of muscle, intramuscle definition, then endurance set might be what you want to go for. But I really think that you have to do a mix of both. Even if you just want to go for that lean look, you still need to go for the loaded abdominal exercises. Just like any other exercise, there's only so far that body weight is going to take you.
Yep. And on top of that, we talked about it earlier. Actually, I think it might have been recorded, but we'll probably edit that, the live.
Yeah.
Because that's important too, is like there, and I want to get your opinion on this too, is like, you know, you can do a lot of exercises that actually work your abs, but that's not necessarily enough if you want that look, in my opinion. Is that how you feel?
Yeah.
Because like we do a lot of things that you gotta have that core tight while you're doing the movement.
Yeah.
And that's gonna help you a lot.
Yeah.
But if you really want to develop them, like we've been saying, you got to progressively overload them and add weight to them.
Yeah, because you can lift all the heavy weights in the world. If you don't do anything for your abs and you're really going for a strong ab look, you're gonna need to do some different, the same principles apply. You know, you're gonna need to load eccentrically. You're gonna need to do some concentric contraction. Instead of maybe with like squats, you develop abdominal stability, but that's an isometric contraction. They're not really lengthening or shortening that much, as opposed to like a hanging ab where they're getting almost, especially if you kick up really high, they're getting maximally shortened and then maximally lengthened. So you're taking your abs through the entire range of motion, similar to what you do with a bicep curl, going through the entire range of motion.
Yep.
So I think that is an important point to make. So, you know, if you want to develop your abs, you've got to hit them in different ways too. And then there's also different parts of your ab. You know, you've got rectus abdominis that comes down. That's the stereotypical six-pack area. And then you've got internal and external obliques, and you've got transversus abdominis. So if you want to work obliques, you've got to work at different angles, because obliques, you can look online, you can see, maybe we'll tie in some pictures of some abdominal muscles, and you can see if you work them along their line of pull, you can get different abs by doing different movements.
Yep. But another thing I want to say is, it's so easy to think, I did all that stuff, I feel it in my core, I worked it. So after your workout, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So what we were saying was, you really want to either start with abs or work it into your workout. There's always a way you can superset something with some type of ab work, and it's just gonna give you more bang for your buck.
Yeah, we'll talk about a great superset exercise that's unlike what you're doing. You know, if you're working chest, yeah, your abdominals need to stabilize you, but they're not like immediately impactful in the lift. And so what a great way to keep your heart rate up and keep yourself kind of in the mode of working. There you go, time your rest break, 30 seconds, a minute of abs, maybe then 30 seconds and a minute of just total rest after that, and then go back into your set. So now you're getting a lot more bang for your buck. Yep. You're still getting a little bit of rest break, but you're throwing in abs at the same time. So at the end of your workout, you don't get to the point where you're just so fatigued